So, it looks like a Yokai Watch game is coming to America. Let's celebrate! Hello everyone, this is VG Master 2, and yes, you heard both those things correctly. A Yokai Watch game is coming to America. Notice I didn't say new game, however, because it's not. The game being localized is Yokai Watch 2 Shinichi, which was originally released in 2014 in Japan. Yeah, almost 3 years ago. It is being released under the name of Psychic Spectres. This is great for Yokai Watch fans like me because, to be honest, the last games in the series to be localized, well, let's just say it completely bombed. So, to celebrate this momentous occasion, I welcome you all to Yokai Watch Month 2017. Yes, throughout the month of September, I will only be doing videos on Yokai Watch, which means no videos on anything else. Which, in turn, means I'll have to delay my second favorite series video to next month. Whoops. Don't procrastinate, it will get you nowhere. But I digress. I have a lot of content planned for this month, all accumulating to a review of Psychic Spectres. With that said, let's kick it off with the original Yokai Watch 2's Bony Spirits and Fleshy Souls. Bones and souls? I'm already getting Undertale vibes. Shit. First, some background. Yokai Watch 2 was initially released in Japan on July 10, 2014, under the names Gonso and Honkei. It was 2 years later until they were finally released internationally. However, like I said earlier, the games didn't sell so well, only accumulating around $80,000 after months had already passed. But luckily, unlike another company that owns another series, Level 5 did not give up. Now, before we get into the meat and potatoes of this review, I have to explain the changes to the review style, as this being a video game, I can't simply go over the plot like I could an episode of a TV series. First, I'm going to be going over the main plot, which does mean spoilers. Then, I'm going to talk about some memorable moments I had with the game, like if I had a hard time on a boss, or managed to befriend a rare yokai easily. Finally, I'm going to end it with my overall opinions on the game. That being said, let's get started. Disclaimer, this review and many other video game reviews in the future do not and likely will not have recorded footage, as I do not have the proper equipment. Yet. Story. One night, the yokai duo Kin and Jin, the latter of which I thought was pronounced Jin for the longest time before remembering that gin was an alcohol, time travel from the past to, well, the present, or to be specific, the main character's present. They make their way into the house of the protagonist, which is a choice between a boy whose default name is Nate Adams, or a girl whose default name is Katie Forrester, the same characters as the last game. The two yokai use power of time bullshit to ensure that the main character loses the yokai watch and also erasing any and all memories of them and yokai, a clever way of explaining why we don't have all our yokai from the previous game. After they leave, a minute later you finally gain control of your character, who, like I said, remembers none of the events of the first game. Before getting the yokai watch back, you, in a similar style to the first game, meet all your friends, Eddie, Bear, and the character you didn't choose, and this time around also shamelessly reference the games themselves. You eventually reach a place called the Memory Store, which may or may not have actually existed before, where you find the yokai watch. After having put it on, your character goes to the Crankakai machine right outside the door, where you're reintroduced to Whisper. That's when you and Whisper finally regain your lost memories, and remember arguably the most popular yokai, the series' mascot, Jibanyan. The next thing you do is try to find Jibanyan, who eventually remembers you and Whisper, as well as becomes the first yokai you befriend. Then, you go back to the memory shop. Or, at least, try to, as it has disappeared. After that, the most you can do is get taught the main mechanics, and that's it for the first chapter. Eventually, the main plot comes in. You meet a giant cat yokai named Meganyan, who, after a battle, turns into Hovernyan. Havrignon had been waiting in a shed next to the main character's grandma's house for 60 years, having built up spirit energy and getting trapped there as Megagnon. Turns out, Megagnon was able to fly around the world and contact the protagonist by projecting an astral form, even though being a spirit is already being in an astral form, but I digress. Havrignon reveals that he was trying to help Nathaniel Adams if you're Nate, or Kenny Forrester if you're Katie, which, yes, those are the grandfathers of the respective protagonists. Havrignon has been looking for a person with a yokai watch, and since the grandfather is dead, what can we do? Go back in time, of course, with the Deus Ex Machina stone. I mean, a time stone. I'm surprised the game didn't end there with a lawsuit from Sega. So yes, there's time travel in this game, and as soon as it's revealed, you're whisked off, 60 years into the past. Once you get there, you almost immediately find out about the Wicked, the 9th tribe in the series, that of which you are unable to befriend any until the next game, but they play an important part of the plot in all of the Yokai Watch 2s. The Wicked are basically evil yokai, so they must be stopped. You then meet the main character's grandfather, whom I previously named. However, when offered help, he acts like a stubborn bitch and refuses to accept it. But, being the protagonist, we do anyways, but not before snooping around his treehouse. There, it is revealed that it was the grandfather who made the very first Yokai Watch, or, at this time, will make, and the main character then goes out to get the last 3 parts. After returning with the parts, you find the grandfather back at their secret base. You show him what you've done, he agrees to help you, and you get the Yokai Watch Model 0. Basically a more powerful Yokai Watch, which is ironic as it's the first one, but whatever. Eventually you encounter Kin and Gin again, and after fighting them, they return to their leader, who goes unnamed at this point. And after a few shenanigans in the present time, you return to the past. Then, after a frankly pointless subplot, you find, who else? Kin and Gin, as well as a shitload of wicked yokai. That's when the main antagonist is revealed, being Dame Deadtime, self-proclaimed boss of the wicked. The main protagonist gets the fuck out of their current situation, and then determine that they must find one of the most powerful yokai, Master Nyada. And yes, he is a giant reference to Yoda. After completing his 3 trials, you set off to fight the wicked, which you beat one, but then everything goes to shit. Dame Deadtime takes over and sends you back to your present, where everything is also shit for some reason. You immediately return to the past and fight the other wicked elite. Then, you head to their base, where the grandfather and Havrignon take care of Kin and Gin, while the main protagonist fights Dame Deadtime. Or her first form, at least. After getting her down to half health, she heals herself, and we find out that grandfather and Havrignon got their asses handed to them. You then fight Kin and Gin again, but in a twist, you use the grandfather's yokai, which are really overpowered. Then you fight Dame Deadtime's first phase, before running out to the station square and fighting her second form, Dame Demona. You beat her, and you finish the main campaign. So, now it's time for memorable moments, which is kind of a lie. They're more like miscellaneous notes about my playthrough, but I thought they were all important, so here we go. I actually played both games at the same time, which might not have been the best decision. I don't think Yokai Watch games were meant to be played simultaneously due to the battle style, but I had 2 3DSs, so why not? Both games I played as Nate and named him such, though in reality it would have been better if I played one Nate and one Katie, but I like Nate more. What are you gonna do? I'm sure there's a Katie story walkthrough somewhere. My playthrough was a strange mix of trying to do the same things in both games, whilst simultaneously choosing opposite story options. For example, at the beginning of the game you have to choose donuts, so I chose Spirit Donuts and Bony Spirits, while I chose Soul Donuts and Fleshy Souls. This is also the case at the Crankakai, where you can make a choice of which yokai you want to get. I chose Rough Raff and Bony Spirits, and Mangima and Fleshy Souls, saving Tattletale for Psychic Specters. But at the same time, I tried to get all the same yokai. So that failed. I ended up getting more yokai and frankly better yokai in Fleshy Souls. Though in the Fusion Quest I ended up getting Ache on my first try in both games. I was really happy about that, makes it easier for me. I would end up having to fight the bosses one game at a time, one after the other, except for Cap and Crash, who I actually almost lost to in Fleshy Souls, that I only beat because of my Slice and Rice with no nickname. Also, none of my yokai have nicknames. I actually got stuck on Ken and Gin's first fight. I redid it over and over before looking at a walkthrough and finding out I needed to pin their time stone. I went out of my way to do the quest to get Harry Berry. Harry Berry is based off of Japanese mascot Kumamon, who, fun fact, not only appears in the quest, but also in the first movie. I had to grind in both games so I could beat Dame Dead Time both times. And yes, I do mean Dame Dead Time. Not Dame Dead Time then Dame Demona, Dame Dead Time. The grinding was actually really easy since the possessed wicked yokai give double the experience and there's one right outside her lair. But then the minions Dame Dead Time summons are actually in your level range. So basically, pray you have enough shit so you can keep your yokai alive. Eventually, I finally beat her first phase, but Bony Spirits, I was on my last yokai, Bad Dude, and he was one hit away from dying, but so was Dame Dead Time. But I did it. I ran outside and saved immediately. Funnily enough, the grinding made the fight against Dame Demona really easy. I beat her on the first attempt on Fleshy Souls, but it took 3 in Bony Spirits. In the end, I beat Bony Spirits with a Washogun, Pissfit, Bad Dude, Hungramps, Jibanyan, and Swelton. Levels 49, 52, 48, 51, 50, and 49 respectively. And I beat Fleshy Souls with the Washogun, Flamorice, Jibanyan, Swelton, Endurafant, and Multimut. Levels 50, 49, 52, 50, 49, and 50 respectively. Now, overall opinions. I love these games. But to be fair, they aren't much different than the first game, just with more yokai and a different, more pronounced story. All of the hard times I was having was my fault. Either I didn't level up enough, or I had no money, or I had no food, and I can chalk that up to being because I was playing both of them together when they're meant to be played one at a time. However, I do still have gripes with the game. While most of the quests you had to do were tied to the story, I didn't really like how the games forced you to do quests to continue. I'd rather just have them be part of the story. There's no reason for level 5 to force them upon you as involuntary quests. They kind of make it look like obstacles. Now before I get into my other gripe, I have to say this. There are 2 things that I cannot stand in any series. Those things are time travel and alternate or parallel timelines and or dimensions. With that being said, I'm sure you know where this is going. These games have time travel, and it's pretty damn prominent. But it's not exactly time travel that's the main problem. It is a problem, but it's more in the rules they give it. In this game, using time travel somehow makes the protagonist's watch disappear, and all of their yokai forget each other. It also makes Dame Dead Time's influence last 60 years, despite the fact that she gets defeated and would have had 60 years to be defeated. For me, traveling to the future is fine. There are no repercussions for that. The problems come when traveling to the past, because in an attempt to make the story interesting and dramatic and tense, they add all these shitty rules. In my ideal world, if someone were to go into the past and complete a task, they do not affect the future. They can do whatever they want and literally do not have the ability to fuck up, because whatever they would do in the past would effectively cause their own future. There wouldn't be any fading away because you fucked up, or someone interfered and now your present's different bullshit, because that's not possible. What you do in the past is reflected in the present you came from. You cannot change your future from the past because, like I said before, You cause your future from the past. If it were my decision and we had to keep the time travel in, I would change the beginning to Kin and Gin putting a spell on the protagonist that allowed them to take the yokai watch away and wipe the protagonist and yokai's memories. Then, with the other instance of time fuckery, instead of the main characters getting forced into a bad future, Dame Dead Time shows them a very biased version of what the future could be, which is what she wants it to be. But I digress. Other than that, the game is great. But what do you think about the game? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Have you not played it and watched this video anyways? Put your answers in the comments below. Give the video a like if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see more. Anyways, I'm VG Master 2, and I hope to see you next time.